was living on the street, sleeping in cars and in garage. Sometimes I stole food, and you want something, right?
Jean-Claude Van Damme was a Hollywood and industry heavyweight for a good chunk of the last century. When the curtains came down on the kickboxing legend, he became an action movie star, and we haven't seen anyone like him since. Thus, it's nearly hard to deny that his abrupt demise from fame was shocking. Where has Van Damme been since the 1990s, when he was a household name that everyone wanted to know about? Did he feel remorse for abandoning his parents to become a Hollywood star? Come with us. As Jean-Claude Van Damme, at 63 years old, confirms our worst suspicions. Eliana van Varenberg and Eugene Van Damme welcomed their son Jean-Claude into the world on October 18, 1960, in Brussels, Belgium. His mother was of Flemish descent, while his father was a florist and accountant originally from Brussels who spoke Flemish and French. While Van Damme's mother was a devout Catholic, his paternal grandmother was Jewish. He began studying in Shotokan karate when he was 10 years old, and subsequently expanded his talents to include kickboxing. He obtained a karate black belt at the age of 18 and a second Dan black belt at a later date. After realizing he needed to do something about his physique, he started weightlifting and eventually became Mr. Belgium. Ballet was a difficult but rewarding exercise for him, so he decided to give it a go when he was 16 years old. He studied for 5 years. He went on to learn in Taekwondo and Muay Thai, further expanding his knowledge of martial arts. How did Van Damme fare in the realms of ballet, karate, and acting? Jean-Claude Van Damme became a member of the Belgian karate team after 4 years of training at the Centre National de Karate, which he entered at the age of 12. He went on to study kickboxing and full-contact karate. In his autobiography, Van Damme talks about his tough upbringing and how he was kind of geeky and not particularly gifted physically. From 1976 to 1980, he competed in karate events, where he won 44 matches and lost 4. He started participating at the age of 15. He competed in the 1979 European Karate Championship for Belgium and helped lead the team to victory. His colleague Angelo Spataro defeated him in the finals of the Challenge Coupe des Espoirs karate tournament, in which he also participated. He subsequently referred to his 1980 battle with Patrick Tugels, which he won via technical knockout, as his most memorable bout. From 1977 to 1982, Van Damme competed in full-contact matches, during which he went 18-1. Both champion Geert Lemmens and Mike Anderson, owner of Professional Karate magazine, took notice of him after he appeared in the 1979 film Woman Between Wolf and Dog without credit. After Van Damme resigned from competition in 1982, he started a gym in 1979 called California Gym. It offered a variety of fitness classes and, at its busiest, produced $15,000 per month. His father felt it was crazy that he sold the gym and moved to the U.S. Along with his boyhood buddy Michelle Kissy, he traveled to Los Angeles in 1982 with $2,000 and no knowledge of the English language in an attempt to dominate the Hollywood industry. He had no idea what he was doing, so he worked odd jobs as a dance teacher, pizza delivery guy, and taxi driver. Their first film role was as extras in the 1984 Cannon Films hip-hop dance film Breakin', when they danced in the background during a dance tutorial. At about the same time, he became acquaintances with Chuck Norris, a famous martial arts film actor. Norris hired Van Damme to work as a bouncer at his club, Woody's Wharf, after the two began fighting together. Everything he had saved from selling his gym went into a European bank, so he had a hard time making ends meet when he first arrived in the U.S., apart from $2,000. Jean-Claude Van Damme would keep his mental health in check by regularly hitting Gold's Gym and going for runs in Santa Monica at night. His habit allowed him to live for a long time. On Wednesdays, he would purchase the Dramalog magazine and send out his photo and resume on Thursday mornings, so he was quite involved in casting calls. He would have fabricated a tale if it meant reaching his goal faster. He would pose as an actor from Brussels with a Hong Kong investor and have a buddy phone studios suggesting they were interested in hiring him. By meeting with producers, he was able to get his name out there and get his foot in the door. He had small roles in the 1984 comedic short Monaco Forever and was a member of the stunt crew for Chuck Norris's action flick Missing in Action. In the 1986 martial arts film No Retreat, No Surrender, directed by Corey Ewan and starring Kurt McKinney, he made his big screen debut as the villain from Russia. No Retreat, No Surrender. 2 Inches had Van Damme and McKinney as stars, but they later withdrew. Before Kevin Peter Hall took over, he worked with director John McTiernan on 1987's Predator as an early version of the titular extraterrestrial. However, he eventually left the job. He was originally cast to play the lead role of the title Predator, intending to provide the extraterrestrial ninja-like agility through his martial arts training. However, he quit the film after only a few days of filming. Supposedly, he had ongoing gripes about the monster costume being excessively hot and making him faint, and he also had misgivings about exclusively appearing on camera while wearing it. It also became clear that the monster required a stronger performer to make it seem menacing to the Army squad. Kevin Peter Hall was cast in the role in the end. Following the success of Predator, Van Damme expressed his gratitude for the film and stated that he had no qualms about passing up the opportunity to play the lead. Bloodsport, starring Van Damme and supposedly based on the life of Frank Dux, premiered on February 26, 1988. Cannon had a budget of $1.5 million to shoot it. American culture is the subject of the film. Captain Frank Dux of the Army, who was ninjutsu trained as a child by Senzo Tanaka, competes in the Kumite competition in Hong Kong as a substitute for Tanaka's late son, Shingo. In the spring of 1988, it became a financial success in the United States. The producer, Mark DeSalle, had stated his desire to find a new martial arts star who was a ladies' man, but Van Damme was able to captivate audiences of all genders with his dual persona as an American hero who stood up for justice in the traditional American fashion and took the piss out of the villains. Van Damme was actually destitute, sleeping in vans and garages and occasionally having to steal food to survive during casting for his leading part. In 1988's Black Eagle, co-starring Sho Kosugi, he portrayed yet another villain from Russia. Cannon Films offered him the main role in Delta Force 2, American Ninja 3, or Cyborg, a cyberpunk martial arts film directed by Albert Pyun following the success of Bloodsport. The 1989 premiere of Cyborg was the one he went with. The picture was a financial success despite its modest budget, and it spawned 2 sequels, neither of which included Van Damme. The following year, Kickboxer was released, and Cannon once again utilized Van Damme. With a budget of about $3 million, it was a huge financial success, earning more than $50 million. The film marked the beginning of the Kickboxer series. While he did make a cameo in the reboot series, he was noticeably absent from the film's 4 subsequent sequels. Death Warrant, David S. Goyer's first screenplay credit, was in 1990, and he appeared in it. He was also in Lionheart that year. Lionheart was helmed by Sheldon Lettich, who had also contributed to Bloodsport. According to Lettich, the film was the first movie to demonstrate that Van Damme was more than just a flash-in-the-pan karate guy who would never rise above simplistic, low-budget karate movies. Meanwhile, the film featured rear nakedness from Van Damme, which nearly became his signature trademark thereafter. The album Double Impact came out in 1991. Lettich directs the film, which stars Van Damme as Chad Wagner and Alex Wagner, 2 twin brothers who have grown apart and are now seeking revenge for their parents' murders. Critics were divided when it premiered. The picture delivers the goods, according to the Los Angeles Times, although Variety criticized the story and projected a box office disaster. The first 28 days of the film's release brought in more than $23 million. Its U.S. earnings were $31 million. In hindsight, critics saw it as an entertaining action flick with some funny moments and solid acting from Van Damme, who plays 2 separate roles. He was in Roland Emmerich's Of Karolko, 1992 science fiction action feature Universal Soldier, which was a huge hit at the box office. American soldiers Luke Devereaux, Van Damme, and Sergeant Andrew Scott, Dolph Lundgren, perish in a gun battle when Devereaux learns that Scott has gone mad and started dismembering people. The conflict takes place during the Vietnam War. They and a huge number of other deceased troops are reanimated and dispatched on a mission as part of a clandestine army program later on. The 1992 Cannes Film Festival saw a verbal altercation between Van Damme and Lundgren that nearly escalated into a physical altercation when the two men shoved each other. But it was thought to have been a publicity stunt. The stunt seemed to have worked, as Universal Soldier was released on the 10th of July 1992 and went on to become a major blockbuster worldwide, earning over $65 million overseas. With a budget of $23 million, the film earned a total of $102 million worldwide. Two of his 1993 films, Nowhere to Run and Last Action Hero, featured him in cameo roles. Van Damme's salary was $3.5 million, and the feature was the first of a three-picture pact with Columbia Pictures. Hollywood studio Columbia described the picture as true to his audience and goes beyond his audience. He made his American film debut in 1994 with Universal Pictures' Hard Target, the first feature film directed by John Woo. That same year, he played in Time Cop, playing the role of a time-traveling police officer. Directed by Peter Hyams, the film was a smashing success, earning over $100 million worldwide. It is still his highest-grossing picture with a leading role to this day. In the same year, he starred in Stephen E. D'Souza's Universal Street Fighter, a film based on the video game that received mixed reviews from critics but made more than 3 times its production budget. Hyams and Van Damme reunited for Universal's 1995 release Sudden Death, in which Van Damme played the role of a French-Canadian firefighter with the Pittsburgh Fire Bureau who went through a personal crisis after failing to rescue a young girl from a house fire. After being demoted from active duty, he was assigned the role of fire marshal for the Pittsburgh Civic Arena, where a group of terrorists were holding the U.S. Vice President and other VIPs hostage in a luxury suite during a game. The film was only moderately successful. Starring and directing The Quest in 1996, a commercial success despite its underwhelming domestic performance, he also made an appearance in the Friends TV series in the 2-part episode The One After the Super Bowl and starred in Ringo Lam's first American film Maximum Risk, marking their first collaboration. At the box office, the picture did somewhat better than expected. In 1997, he starred in the science fiction action flick Double Team, alongside basketball great Dennis Rodman. The film marked the American debut of Hong Kong director Tsui Hark. His 1998 reunion with Hark on the financially disastrous Knockoff was a bust. Legionnaire, a war film starring Van Damme, was also released that year. It was only distributed in foreign theaters despite having a budget of $35 million in the United States. His 1999 film Universal Soldier: The Return saw him reprise his role as Luke Devereaux. The film debuted at number 4 on the box office gross. Inferno was another film he was a part of that year. Replicant, Jean-Claude Van Damme's second feature film with Ringo Lam, was released in 2001. It was his 7th dual-role picture. Michael Rooker is also a starring in the film. The Order, written by Van Damme and directed by Sheldon Lettich, starring him that same year. Derailed, 2002, and In Hell, 2003, both American prison action films directed by Ringo Lam, featured him. In the role, Van Damme portrays a U.S. worker in Russia. That same year, he danced his heart out in the music video for Kiss My Eyes by Bob Sinclair. Among Van Damme's notable filmography are the action flick Wake of Death, 2004, the self-referential 2005 French film Narco, and the 2006 features Second in Command, directed by Simon Fellows, and The Hardcore, written and directed by Sheldon Lettich. A Turkish comedy drama called The Exam included him in a brief part in 2007, and he also acted in the film Until Death. With the critically acclaimed 2008 picture JCVD, Van Damme made his popular return. In addition to his 2008 part in The Shepherd Border Patrol, and his 2009 role as Luke Devereaux in Universal Soldier Regeneration with Dolph Lundgren, Time magazine lauded his performance as the second greatest of the year, after Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight, Time, 2009. During the early 2010s, Van Damme had a busy acting career. He was in Full Love, as both director and star, Kung Fu Panda 2 Inches, voicing Master Croc, and Assassination Games, co-starring. Both his 2011 reality program Behind Closed Doors and the French comedy Bourre-sur-la-Ville featured his appearances. His return battle with former Olympic gold medalist Somluk Kamsing has been in the works since 2009, although it has been postponed many times. The Russian comedy Rejevsky vs. Napoleon and UFO were both released in 2012. Van Damme also featured in Dragon Eyes, Universal Soldier Day of Reckoning, and 6 Bullets in 2012 in addition to The Expendables 2 Inches in which he debuted as the lead villain. He was also seen in ads for Dash laundry detergent and Coors Light beer. In his birthplace of Brussels, a life-size monument was erected in his honor on October 21, 2012. Van Damme co-starred in the 2013 comedy Welcome to the Jungle and the 2013 horror film Enemies Closer, and he was the face of the popular Volvo Trucks commercial The Epic Split same year. He first made an appearance in the 2014 American action flick Swelter. In 2015, he starred in the action thriller Pound of Flesh and had a cameo in a Chinese superhero spoof. He voiced Master Croc again in Kung Fu Panda 3 Inches 2016, appeared in Kickboxer Vengeance that same year, and then appeared in the TV series Jean-Claude Van Damme not long after. From 2017's Kill 'Em All to 2018's Kickboxer Retaliation and Black Water, co-starring Dolph Lundgren, Van Damme has been rather busy. In 2018, he was also in the film The Bouncer. From 2019's We Die Young until 2021's The Last Mercenary, 2022's Minions: The Rise of Gru included his voice and likeness as Johnny Cage, and 2023's Mortal Kombat 1 Inch featured him as well. In 2012, a statue of Van Damme was unveiled in Anderlecht, Belgium. The artwork depicts a younger version of the Muscles from Brussels in one of his fighting poses from the movie Kickboxer. It was commissioned to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the Westland shopping complex. The unveiling took place on Boulevard Sylvain Dupuis and was attended by Van Damme, his parents, Wallonia Brussels Culture Minister Fadila Lanen, and nearly 2,000 fans. Van Damme said that the statue represented the dream of a Brussels kid and was for all the children who want something bad, and that, if you believe in something strongly enough, it can come true. Since the name of the hamlet is so close to Van Damme's, a memorial honoring the actor was erected in the Van Damme village of Kabala, Azerbaijan in 2019. Following this, the actor thanked the people involved in a Facebook post. Van Damme's lawyer, Martin Singer, retorted, "There are records to document his martial arts acclaim." In 1997, Frank Dux, the martial artist Van Damme portrayed in Bloodsport, sued him for $50,000 for his co-writing and consultation work on the 1996 film The Quest. The lawsuit also claimed that Dux lied to the public about his martial arts fight record, claiming that when Dux tutored Van Damme while the latter was laying carpet for a living, Van Damme failed to demonstrate adequate martial arts abilities. Take a look at his filmography. His acting chops weren't the deciding factor in landing those parts. Those chair splits are done by him. His stunt team isn't strong enough to pull that off. But the controversies didn't end there, as tensions arose between Van Damme and bodyguard and stuntman Chuck Zito when Zito began dating Van Damme's estranged wife, Darcy Lapierre. Zito was reportedly unhappy about Lapierre's claim in a divorce action that Van Damme had abused her. On the 6th of February 1998, the New York Daily News reported that Van Damme had been punched by Zito the previous night at the Scores strip club in Manhattan, New York. Zito, who had previously bodyguarded Van Damme and did stunts on the film Nowhere to Run, recalled the incident in his 2002 autobiography, Street Justice. claiming that he suffered a broken hand as a result of striking Van Damme several times after Van Damme made disparaging remarks about him to a club bouncer, who then relayed the comments to Zito. Van Damme, despite the fact that it was somewhat ignored, Van Damme was one of several celebrities, along with Hilary Swank, Vanessa Mae, and Seal, who came under fire from human rights organizations in October 2011 for attending a party in Grozny, the capital of Russian federal subject Chechnya, to celebrate Chechen President Ramzan Kadyrov's 35th birthday on October 5. The same organizations had previously urged the celebrities to stay away from the party due to the abuses perpetrated by Kadyrov, but now they were being criticized for attending the party. Human Rights Watch issued a statement stating, "Ramzan Kadyrov is linked to a litany of horrific human rights abuses. Celebrities shouldn't be paid to attend his parties." Participating in such a spectacular spectacle in Chechnya for financial gain devalues the plight of the innumerable victims of human rights violations that take place there. Nicolas's childhood was negatively impacted by the ugly, behind-the-scenes divorce of Jean-Claude Van Damme and Darcy Lapierre. Jean-Claude Van Damme has had his fair share of negative press during his career. Allegations that Van Damme intentionally harmed another actor's career brought him a great deal of criticism. Rumor has it that Jean-Claude was a pain to work with in any capacity, even on Friends, where he allegedly pretended to be a diva. Being on the sidelines didn't make his life any easier. Things went south for Van Damme and his son Nicolas on more than one occasion as a result of his many unsuccessful marriages. Throughout his life, Jean-Claude Van Damme's relationships have been anything from smooth sailing. After his first 3 marriages to Gladys Portugais ended in divorce, Van Damme remarried her in 1999 before his marriage to Darcy Lapierre. Things were quite tense in his relationship with Darcy Lapierre. They tied the knot in 1994, but their lives became more complicated after the arrival of their son Nicolas in 1995. Van Damme first doubted that Nicolas was really his, according to Nikki Swift. Things for Van Damme's youngster became much more difficult after his parents separated in 1997. And since his ex-wife thought he was a danger to their child, Van Damme also lost custody of the youngster. This, according to Van Damme, was the spark that ignited his fire. "The only way I can bring my son back is to be successful again," as they were saying to him, "Your father is a loser." The custody case is very painful. The legal system in California is crazy. For me not to see my kid is a disaster. You cannot do that to nobody. It has got to the point where Nicolas cannot communicate with my other children on Facebook. My other son is making a movie and wants my youngest son to be in the film because he is thinking about him. So they were communicating about the script. Someone found out, and he was cut off, he told the newspaper. Christopher Van Damme's second son has been an important confidant to him and has given him counsel that has changed his life. When people think of action and martial arts movies, they usually think of Van Damme. Thanks to his fame, actors like Dale Cook, Olivier Gruner, Don Wilson, and Lauren Avedon were able to break into the Hollywood industry. Described as the most remade action star, his films have spawned endless sequels such as Bloodsport 2, The Next Kumite in 1996, Bloodsport 3 in 1997, Bloodsport 4, The Dark Kumite in 1999, Cyborg 2 in 1993, Cyborg 3, The Recycler in 1994, Kickboxer 2-6 in the Kickboxer film series, Universal Soldier 2, Brothers in Arms in 1998, Universal Soldier 3, Unfinished Business in 1998, Hard Target 2 in 2016, Street Fighter, The Legend of Chun-Li in 2009, Street Fighter Assassin's Fist in 2014, Time Cop 2, The Berlin Decision in 2003, the Time Cop TV series in 1997, and Welcome to Sudden Death in 2020. The original sequels to these films, in which Van Damme had a supporting role, set the stage for this one to succeed. Some have likened Van Damme's impact to the 1970s Bruceploitation wave. Alain Moussy, Scott Adkins, Dave Callahan, Jay Cutler, Georges St. Pierre, Nick Diaz, Tom Duquesnoy, John Albert, Charles Rosa, Murad Ramazanov, Halil Amir, Andrei Stoica, Giorgio Petrosian, Alfie Davis, Ank Orgil Batarku, and Angela Chang are among the numerous martial artists, athletes, and filmmakers who have named Van Damme as an influence. Kickboxer. Vengeance's Georges St. Pierre called his bout with Van Damme a dream come true in August 2016. Mortal Kombat, the 1992 original, was planned as a fighting game inspired by Van Damme. The initial plan, according to developers Ed Boon and John Tobias, was to have Van Damme play the lead role. The contract fell through because he apparently had another deal going with the Sega Genesis platform for a different game. Johnny Cage, based on Van Damme, especially on his look and the clothes he wore in the martial arts flick Bloodsport, was the character that Boon and Tobias settled on after much deliberation. Jean-Claude Van Damme is DK's biggest hero on the German Donkey Kong 64 website. Florida promoter Ron Slinker may have given American professional wrestler Robert Alexander Setkowski the ring moniker Rob Van Dam in 1992 because to Setkowski's background in martial arts and his striking similarity to Van Damme. As Van Damme narrates, he developed a cocaine problem in the mid-1990s when the stress of constantly filming and promoting his films caused him to spend up to $10,000 weekly and consume up to 10 grams of cocaine per day by 1996. To this day, in 1999, he remains behind bars for drunk driving. He finally beat his addiction by cutting off all narcotics and starting an exercise routine after drug rehabilitation failed. He received the diagnosis of bipolar illness in 1998. His illness was a topic of discussion on the British reality show Behind Closed Doors in 2011 when he revealed, "Sometimes you're gonna like me, and sometimes you're gonna hate me. But what can I do? I'm not perfect. I'm an extreme bipolar, and I'm taking medication for this. When I was young, I was suffering from those swing moods. In the morning, the sky was blue when I was going to school, but to me it was black. I was so sad." There have been 4 separate marriages to 4 different ladies throughout his life. His third marriage lasted until 1992, and he had 2 children, Christopher, born in 1987, and Bianca Brigitte, born in 1990, with bodybuilder Gladys Portugues. He wed actress Darcy Lapierre in February 1994 after starting an affair with her earlier. On October 10, 1995, the couple welcomed a boy named Nicholas into the world as a result of this marriage. While filming in Thailand for Street Fighter that year, he had an affair with Kylie Minogue, one of his co-stars. Van Damme made his affair public knowledge in 2012, but Lapierre, who was expecting their baby at the time, was unaware of it. The 2016 presidential campaign saw him publicly endorsing Donald Trump in October of that year. The Illuminati, which he said may include the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, might attempt to thwart Trump's victory, he said in March of that year. While still married to Gladys Portugues, he had a 10-year romance with model Alina Kavarina. Since Kavarina's birthplace is Ukraine, Van Damme went there to provide his support during Russia's invasion of the nation. Outside of the spotlight, Van Damme has been an outspoken advocate for animal rights and conservation, making appearances in public service announcements for Animals Australia, and pushing on with his plan to gather other famous people to build refuges for endangered animals. He was handed the responsibility of strengthening the preservation of indigenous wildlife and flora and forests in 2022, when he was named as the Democratic Republic of the Congo Ambassador on Environment. Although Jean-Claude Van Damme's acting jobs look to be far smaller these days, he is still available to star in other films if offered. His interview with THR made it clear that he had no plans to retire anytime soon. The actor is willing to take on every role that comes his way, including a new project called What's My Name that is still in the pre-production stage. Much obliged for your time. Please watch one more of our engaging videos and subscribe to our channel before you go.